What's up, guys? This is going to be part 6 of the 5-speed conversion on my wagon here. I think today we're going to be finally putting in the transmission. It's the 411 version 2 STI transmission I got. Also today I think what I'm going to work on first, I was like I got to get my turbo off. It's the TD04L we put on in a previous video. So I got to take it back off, because I got to change the oil drain tube. I got a brand new one right here from Subaru. You can see the part number here. So this one's actually rated for oil, and when I did the turbo swap, I couldn't get one of these, so I made one out of just regular heater core hose, and that's not really rated for oil or anything. So I need to take that turbo off and swap this out, and it's easier to do it while the transmission's out of the car, so you can actually get to the hose clamps in the back. Alright, I just got the inlet off the turbo here. Just kind of took my intake halfway apart. Got the coupler off. You can see there's a little bit of oil residue in my turbo, which is kind of normal. It's just mostly the the PCV and everything kind of going through. And this catch can's not really the greatest. Also got the boost source lines off the wastegate and all that stuff. So now I can see if I can get to the bolts that bolted on and take the oil line off, and probably that coolant line as well. Okay, so I got pretty much everything disconnected. I got all the bolts off. I loosened up the hose clamp, so I should be able to slowly pull this sucker off. There we go. Trying to drop it, get fucking coolant everywhere. Alright, there it is. Okay, so I got, this is the old one here. You can see the real problem is that it was, for one, not rated for oil, and for two, it was too long, so it was kind of pinching it. And that's the really hard part about this drain, is that you have to get it basically the perfect length, and it's really difficult to figure out how long it has to be. So it's just easier just to buy the OEM one, and then it just bolts on. So you can see, like, it's about about an inch too long, so it was just kind of folding it, which isn't good. So I mean, it's lasted about 5,000 miles, but definitely need to get the proper hose. Okay, so we got the turbo all back on. This bolt right here stripped itself out because I'm missing one of the studs here, so we got a new one to fix that. Pretty much everything's hooked up. I just got to hook up some more of these coolant lines. And I got the new throwout bearing on. It's all greased up. It should be ready to go in. I do have to run to Harbor Freight and get a punch set so we can change this shift knuckle thing here. So that's what we're going to go do right now. Okay, so we had to take the master cylinder off to actually get room for the clutch fork. So we have to move the transmission back about an inch, and then we should be able to get the studs on.
The clutch fork fine?
Yeah. The master's that way, so it's just the input shaft needs to turn it while we push it.
This bolt is tight. We can put these on.
Okay, so the transmission's basically all the way bolted in. We popped the throwout bearing in. It's all good to go. Oops. As you can see down here, we got the shift linkage all connected. This washer right here for the stay rod, we had to oval out the hole a little bit bigger to get it to work. We threw the rear diff in too. It's pretty much all good to go. Just use the jack to put it up in there. but it's coming together nicely. So with everything all hooked up and everything, we could actually feel how it goes into each gear. Feels really good. I'm really happy with it. So at this point, we basically need to put the master cylinder back in. Pretty much everything's already good to go. We just need to get the master cylinder hooked up. We're going to put the starter in. We already have a couple of the bell housing bolts in, so that's all good. I'm probably going to have to modify this dipstick tube a little bit, maybe bend the handle down so it actually fits with my top mount. Need to put gear oil and everything. Put the engine oil in. I need to put this coupler back on for my turbo. But it's really coming together now. So next, I really need to put this stuff back on the transmission. This is the bracket that goes in for the upper transmission mount. It also has this spring that goes on here for the slave cylinder. This goes onto the pitchfork from here to here. And I need to bolt the slave back on, and then I can start hooking up the master to that. One other thing I need to do is I need to put this upper transmission mount in. I mean, obviously I don't have the bracket on for it yet. This is the one from the automatic. It's solid metal, so except for the bushings, but it should work just as the same as stock. But this one's since it's just a metal rod here, it has a lot more space where I can run like this wiring harness and the coolant lines and stuff, because it's going to kind of sit like that. So I don't really have a lot of room with my intercooler there. So this is actually going to help me out quite a bit to use this one to save some space. So it was really cool having my buddy Zach come out and help us. It was a big help getting the transmission in there. We really just need a couple people, one more set of hands to get it all in there. Is pretty heavy, so he helped us out quite a bit. We got a lot done last night. So at this point, I can basically work on it on my own now. So I can put the drive line in on my own and probably get the exhaust on and stuff like that. The biggest thing that I'm going to be waiting on that might hold up some update videos is getting the wheel bearings down there rebuilt. That's the biggest thing I'm really waiting on right now. The Forest is going to hopefully take them to work and get them rebuilt. Won't really be able to film much of that, but that's kind of the biggest thing we're waiting on. So I can't really like set up the brakes or do anything else or put the axles in until we have hubs, to actually bolt everything into. So okay, I just put the master cylinder back in here. Just tighten the bolts down a little bit. I still got to mount the hard line back on and hook up the clutch pedal. So right now I'm going to put this bracket on for the slave cylinder and the pitchfork and all that shit. So it also has with the trans mount on it. So you should be able to just slip it down over this. That, and put the bolts in. So we just got the trans mount in right here. It was pretty tight fit, so like the entire motor is like super solid now. I'm not really sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we put the spring on right here for the clutch fork, and I tried to zip tie my wiring harness a little closer to the firewall, so it's not going to interfere with the pitchfork at all. So now I'm going to try to put the slave cylinder on and see if we can bleed the clutch. There we go. So now I'm going to try to connect the slave cylinder line to the back of the slave cylinder. There's a little bolt back here. I got to try to run the line back around so it'll reach. Okay, so the line's all hooked up. It's kind of hard to see back here. This is the line right here. We just zip tied it to the harness over here to kind of keep it out of the way of the starter. It's going to go right there. So now we should be able to fill it up with some fluid and try to bleed it. We're working on bleeding the clutch right now. We got the master sort of bled already. You just use a little nipple right there. Loosen it, push the pedal down, close it, push the pedal back up, and we're doing the same thing with the one on the back of the slave cylinder down underneath there. It's really hard to film, so I figured I'd just give you guys kind of like an update on it. But right now the pedal is going, it seems like it's actually all the way in, but I can't really tell, so we're just going to keep bleeding it and try to get all the air out as possible. So okay, so the clutch is all bled and ready to go. I got it topped off. This is a little contraption I made to catch all the fluid. I just used this rubber hose and I just kind of plugged it into a Gatorade bottle. Works pretty good. So I was able to put that on the slave cylinder, and then it didn't really make a mess or anything. But the clutch feels really good. It's not too heavy. You can actually tell it's going into every gear. Feels really good. Okay, for those of you that are doing this at home, the automatic and manual drive shafts are different lengths because the automatic transmission is longer, so the drive shaft has to be shorter. So this is one from a WRX. As far as I know, pretty much all the 5-speed, up to a certain year, all the 5-speed drive shafts are the same length. So this one will match perfectly with the transmission I got. So if you are doing your own 5-speed conversion on a Subaru, it's better to stick with the same generation of car, like for your donor car or whatever you're getting the transmission out of. It's just easier. You'll know that all the parts will fit if it's from the same generation. So like I could take like an NA Legacy and with a 5-speed, and I could take everything out of it and put it in this one. It'd be a little bit weaker than the transmission I got, but everything would be a direct bolt-in. You wouldn't have to modify anything like I had to do. So, alright, drive shaft is going in. I just slid it in right here. And I got my carrier bearing bolt started. I'm using all the stock hardware. I'm actually even using the stock bushings that came with the automatic driveline, because this one for some reason was missing the bushings. So they're the same bushing, so I'm just gonna reuse them. They're totally good. So this is gonna be a problem. This is exactly what I was talking about before and why you should use the same generation of car. Because if you look right here, this drive shaft is about 1 inch too short. So I think the best option is going to be to take this is the diff that came out of the car. If I can take the flange off of here, I should be able to get a drive line from like a 90 to 94 Legacy. It's a 5-speed, and it should be the right length. The problem is that with this diff, that the bolt spacing on this flange is actually different, so I need to swap it with this one. I just hit it with this impact gun, and I got the bolt off, but I got to figure out how to actually get this part off of here. So this seems to be working. If I just hammer on this breaker bar and kind of rotate it, so it seems to be coming off slowly. There we go. Okay. So I should be able to take this and put it on that diff, and then use just regular NA Legacy 5-speed drive shaft, and it should work. So as I was looking at it, I might be able to get this off without taking the diff out, so I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna hit it with this impact gun here. There we go. So now I'm going to hit it with that breaker bar I got in the hammer and see if we can slide this JDM one off here. Okay, so I was actually able to get this out without taking the diff out of the car. So that was a big help. You can see when you put them next to each other that this is the JDM one and this is the automatic differential one from my car that took it off. And so this one has a square bolt pattern, when this one's more of a rectangle. It's like 47 millimeters in a square, and this one's like 37 by about 46. So this should fit pretty much any 90 to 94 NA Legacy drive shaft, and that drive shaft should be long enough to actually fit this chassis. So we're going to go to the junkyard on Sunday and get one of those. I'll probably bring you guys with us. So with them laying out like this, you can kind of see what the problem is. This is the automatic one, and this is the JDM WRX one. So this one has the correct length from the carrier bearing to the transmission, whereas this one, the automatic transmission is longer, so this section of it's actually shorter. This part is longer, but since this part's shorter, the entire thing is also about 2 inches too short. So if I really have to, I could just get the front half and probably use this rear half, but hopefully I can just get one that just fits. Okay, so we're here at Pick and Pull, and this is the driveline I got. This thing, this wagon here has about 347,000 miles on it, and somebody trashed it. So this thing looks pretty good, but I'm not sure if I should get it. I mean, I don't really see anything wrong with it. It just has a lot of miles on it, so I think I might clean it up and actually use it. So yeah, they said they had like 6 or 7 first gens that were manual, but this is really the only one we could find, and it's in really rough shape. So that driveline should do. So we're gonna get it. I might split them in half in case they try to charge me double, since it's a 2-piece, but we'll see. Okay, so this right here is the one we just got from the junkyard. This is my automatic one right here. So you can see the difference is really only in the front half. Right here, where the automatic one is a little bit shorter because the automatic transmission is longer. So this one should fit perfectly. This is the flange from my original Diff, and so it's the same pattern as this side. So that should work. If you're using a legacy rear diff, you don't have to change this because the automatic and manual have the same pattern. So this is only really if you're using an Impreza rear diff like I am. Okay, now I'm going to put my legacy flange on the Impreza diff here. Shouldn't really matter which way it goes, but just get it on there. I'm going to tap it on with a hammer. Just get it all the way snug on there. Okay, so after you hammer it on, just make sure that you can spin this and it's totally free, because mine, the little lip right here was bent on one side and I didn't realize it, and so it was actually dragging on a certain portion of it. So I just used a flathead and peeled it back. Now it spins fine, so put the nut on there, and I'm just going to use my impact gun to put it on. I think the torque spec's supposed to be about 135 foot-pounds, but my impact gun should be able to do that. Okay, that should be good. Okay, so I just slid that in, just put these in there a little kind of tight, and now, in the moment of truth, spin this sucker around, and she fits, just like that. So now I'll put these bolts in, and I'll get to put the cover on. It should be good to go. One. Okay, so these are all tight. I just use the whole U-joint wrench trick to hold it still and just get those as tight as I can. They're just little 12 mils, so and they have lock washers, so don't need to get them too tight. So we do need to get them off eventually. So now I'm going to throw the cover on, probably clean that thing up a little bit, and the rear diff should be done. Okay, so the cover is all back on. Everything's bolted in. Should be good to go. So there was this one more cover piece right here. I had to take these 17 mil bolts back out and put it on tighten these down, and then put these outside ones on. So this is all boxed in and super strong. So other than fluid, the rear diff should be done. Okay, so I think this is gonna do it for this week. I'm trying not to make these videos too long because most people don't end up watching the entire things anyway. So I think that'll probably do it for this one. Next week I'll probably finish hooking up my turbo, get the speed cable all hooked up, get fluids for the transmission, rear diff, put the oil in. I still need to get my wheel bearings rebuilt. So once I get the wheel bearings, I can put my brakes on and do all that. So that'll probably be the next video. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.